This is the Flathead Valley Sports Haven, a new segment where I highlight current and former Flathead Valley area players, coaches, and sports figures celebrating the best athletics our valley has to offer. The Flathead Valley Sports Haven is powered by Logan Health, and today's guest is Josie Windauer. From Columbia Falls to Whitefish, Josie is the head athletic trainer at Whitefish High School. All right, Josie, you grew up competing in Columbia Falls. You played at the University of Montana, and now you stand on the opposite sideline of the rivalry that you once competed in. Thank you for joining me here today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Let's go ahead and just start off with being from the Flathead Valley and everything. Take me through, what was it like to grow up in Columbia Falls?
Yeah, so growing up in Columbia Falls, I think back and it was a very positive childhood. It was definitely a good community to grow up in. I have two brothers. I have an older brother and a younger brother, and we grew up in a church. So we went to Our Savior's Lutheran Church in Columbia Falls. So we definitely had a big support system through our church, and we also had a big support system through the school and especially our sports. And I grew up. My parents worked from home. My dad is a bow builder, a bowyer, so he builds long bows and recurve custom bows for mainly hunting. So he was always working from home in his shop, and my mom also worked from home in the office. And so we grew up close to our parents, close to all of our grandparents, cousins, aunts, and uncles. And so all in all, living in Columbia Falls I loved it. And when I left for college, I missed it. But yeah, I grew up doing all of the outdoorsy things that you can think of. We grew up camping, rafting, fishing, hunting, especially since my dad, he builds bows. So we were introduced at a very young age to the world of bow hunting. And we were always just staying busy doing something. When we weren't playing sports, we were spending time with family and spending time in the outdoors. And so I look back and I'm very grateful for that.
And you were a three-sport athlete. Obviously, soccer was the big one. Also played basketball, ran track and field. Talk to me about that experience of being a multi-sport athlete and playing three different sports like that.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade that for anything. I think playing three different sports helped me to build a bigger tool tool belt. I think every sport offered a different level of knowledge, and I think every sport offered a different level of competition, and I was able to develop different skill sets in each sport. And all of my coaches were very different as well. So my soccer coaches were very different from my basketball coaches, which were very different from my track coaches. And so I loved being a three-sport athlete. And I think all in all, it made me a more well-rounded person and a more well-rounded athlete. And I also got to play with different kids throughout the year. My group of best friends, we all played the same sports. So that was pretty fun too. And then before high school, I played a lot of club soccer, select soccer, and more so than I ever did. I didn't do anything extra for basketball or track, but I loved playing three sports in a year, and it kept me busy and motivated and close to my friends and healthy and active. So.
Perfect. We'll get into the soccer a little bit more because you did play collegiately, but one thing I want to ask is, obviously, Kerry Finberg, a Hall of Famer, one of the best coaches to ever do it. What was it like to play for him and play under him?
I'm sure he'll probably listen to this at some point, maybe, but I was terrified of him at first. I came in, so freshman year I was injured, so I didn't play. I was pretty much out of my entire soccer season. I was injured during fall camp, and then I was out for basketball. So my freshman season, I didn't play basketball. But my sophomore season, I kind of had, I wouldn't say a disadvantage, but I definitely was not accustomed to high school basketball yet, and I had never played much basketball at all. And I think Kerry knew I was a good athlete, and he knew I was strong and fast. but I wasn't necessarily very agile or
didn't quite have the basketball skills up to par yet.
No, I wasn't a very technical player, and Carrie knew that. So I came in junior high, I played point guard, and then I got to high school, and Carrie quickly found out that I couldn't shoot. And so post is where I belonged, and that's where I stayed. And he was able to utilize me in there my sophomore year through my senior year. And I respected him. I don't want to speak for anyone else, but he was definitely an old school coach. You came in and you were expected to work hard. There was no messing around, no goofing off, no music playing in the gym, no distractions. It was all just very serious.
And you said you liked that aspect, right?
I did like that. I think some people probably didn't as much, but I really thought that it was a style of coaching that made me feel like I was a part of something that was a big deal. And looking back, yeah, it's high school basketball, but yeah, it was a big deal at the time. And we were on a mission all the time, every day, and practices were very intense. And if we weren't on the ball, if we weren't in a good headspace, we were running or we were getting humbled by something that Carrie had us do. So he was a very good coach, and I'm very thankful that I got to play under him.
That's awesome. I love that. So got to talk about the rivalry. It's not very often I get someone on this who has been in the Whitefish Sioux Falls, the cat dog rivalry, and has seen both sides of it like you have. So take me through, what did that rivalry mean when you were in high school? What was that like as a competitor to play in that rivalry?
Yeah, the rivalry was awesome. Columbia Falls and Whitefish there's great people in every town, but they're very different towns. And I think maybe the kids are a little bit different as far as hobbies go and maybe lifestyle goes. But at the end of the day, kids are kids, and they're all out there working hard and, enjoying time with their friends, and they're all going through the same struggles. But anyways, I grew up loving the rivalry. Playing Whitefish was just the best, because usually we would, and soccer was a different story, but basketball, we beat them heavily most every time we played them. Soccer, we were a little bit more neck and neck. Track, Whitefish always had a good team. We always had a good team. So I'd say soccer and track, we were a little bit more neck and neck on the girls' side of things. Basketball, we just kind of swept over Whitefish at the time. But it was fun. I always liked playing in the Columbia Falls gym. I think that out of all of the schools in the Valley, Columbia Falls used to, when I was in school, have one of the most vibrant environments.
I would still agree with that statement.
Yeah, I think that Columbia Falls fans and they show up and they're there for the kids, and it's loud, and it's just a fun environment to be in. You have the band playing, you have the cheerleaders, you've got it was big. And so I loved playing Whitefish on our home court. I didn't like playing at Whitefish ever, just because I didn't like the yellow and the green. And it was always just, I don't know. I just didn't like the environment as much. But
I love it. And we'll circle back to that, because I want to get your thoughts on that now that you've seen it from a different aspect. But when you think back to that rivalry back in your playing days, do you have a favorite memory from that rivalry, whether it was a certain game, a certain moment, whatever it may be? Do you have a memory of maybe it gets testy at times? Do you have one of those kind of memories?
Oh, man. See, I was telling you before, I have a hard time remembering specific games and
or
specific
just
moments, but
time in the season or something.
I would say I don't have a lot of memories specific to basketball, playing Whitefish, but soccer was we were a big rivalry in soccer. And I grew up playing with a lot of the girls that I played against on the Whitefish team. And so I think that it always got a little bit heated out on the field. I think that it just got very physical, and there were a lot of elbows and a lot of scratching and, maybe someone kneeing you in the back or stomping on your foot, because
little
that's
extracurriculars that you would expect in a game
because
like
that's
that.
how girls are too. So I do remember a lot of soccer games where the defenders I was playing up against, we kind of elbow into each other, and there were definitely, like I said, claw marks on my arms, and and my toes would be bruised from getting stomped on, or just stuff like that. But yeah.
I love it.
And then track, I always I'll drop a couple names just because I really enjoyed competing against them, but I competed a lot against Lauren Scholes and McKenna Ells.
Yep.
And I remember, especially in like the 400 or the 4x4, we were always pretty neck and neck. And we were always equally as nervous before. And so we would kind of like check in with each other, like, how are you doing? I don't know if it was like our way of getting in each other's heads, but how are you doing? Oh, I'm doing great. Like, I'm not nervous at all. Or,
oh, that's great.
We just would just naturally kind of check in with each other. And I don't know. I think it was our way of trying to get in each other's heads a little bit, but I don't know.
That's fantastic.
They were
I love that.
really good competitors and obviously very talented. So.
Well, and then after your playing days, in high school, you end up going to the University of Montana, go Grizz, and you play college soccer for a couple of years. So take me through playing at that collegiate level, and then at the same time realizing that athletic training was the path. Did playing soccer kind of help you towards that path?
Yeah, so I committed to play soccer for the Grizz my junior year of high school. I went to an ID camp. I think it was in the fall or late summer of my junior year, if I'm remembering right. But anyways, went to that camp. I wasn't really expecting anything from it. I just was hoping that maybe I'd be seen. And so I remember it was a fun camp. I didn't think much about it. I just played my heart out and played my style of soccer. And I remember going and shaking the coach's hand. His name was Chris Chidowicki, and I really liked him. His assistant coach was Katie Benz, and then the goalkeeper coach, his name was Jay. And anyways, I go and shake Chris's hand and just say, thanks for having me out, and good luck with your upcoming season. And, he's got a line of however many girls waiting to talk to him. And so I walk outside. My mom's waiting in the parking lot because she came to Missoula with me. And, I'm kind of like not sure what I got out of the camp, and just ready to, hop in the car and go home. And all of a sudden the coach, he comes out, runs out of the building and goes, wait, don't go yet. And he comes up to me in the parking lot, and I was like, whoa, like, what is happening? And he was like, what's your phone number? Like, we're going to give you a call and set up an unofficial visit. And I was like, oh my gosh, no way. I remember getting in the car, and I was super excited, and my mom and I were just enjoying that moment together. But anyways, so started playing soccer for the Grizz my freshman year. My freshman year was a hard year. It was during COVID, and our season, we weren't sure whether we were going to have a season or not, and we were still training our tails off, conditioning, practicing. We were doing everything that we would be doing if we would have had a season. And the dorms were tough. We couldn't really meet people, couldn't really mingle. Masks, you had to wear the masks. Class was online. So my first day of college, I sat in my dorm room on my computer for, I think, 8 hours.
Oh, that's rough.
I was on Zoom after Zoom and then doing homework. And so it was tough. Practices were definitely different. with the masks and just the tension of, am I going to get to play? Am I not going to get to play? And then you had the whole vaccine thing come in as well. And so some people didn't get it, some people did, and there was a lot of tension behind that. Anyways, so long story short, my freshman season was really tough. Our season ended up getting moved to the spring. So that would have been the spring of 21. And so we had a good season. We won our season. I guess we took first in our conference for regular season. And then we ended up winning the Big Sky tournament in Ogden, Utah. So that was a pretty big deal. And then we ended up going to the NCAA tournament, which was in North Carolina that year. All of the games were in North Carolina, which was kind of cool. We played South Carolina, the Gamecocks, awesome. And I grew up watching teams like South Carolina, and I just couldn't believe that I was playing in a game like that. We lost 1-0.
Good
and,
game, though.
Claire Howard, our goalkeeper, had the game of, in my opinion, of her life, but it was probably one of the best games I watched her play. She saved our bacon. And then the next year, so we jumped right into a fall season and got back to work, had a great season. We didn't win the regular season conference that year, but we did win the Big Sky tournament, and that was in Greeley. So we played, I forget who we played. I want to say we played Weber in that championship game. But anyways, so that was a good season. And then we ended up going on to the NCAA tournament again. And this time it was at Wazoo. So we played in Pullman. And I remember being in the locker room before the game, kind of knowing it was my last game.
Okay.
I had been thinking about quitting for a very, very long time. And anyways, played a great game. And it took me a few weeks after that to really make a decision. But anyways, all in all, I loved my experience. I made friends for life. I have a few friends that I will always be in touch with. And I loved my coaches, each and every one of them. I had a very good relationship with them and still do. And I just found out that it wasn't for me.
You're listening to the Flathead Valley Sports Haven. We'll be back after this quick timeout and a word from Logan Health.
Is pain or weakness holding you back? When the pain cramps your lifestyle, consider joint replacement. At Logan Health Orthopedics, their total joint program provides proper education, support, and guidance during your journey. Orthopedic nurse navigators walk you through the entire process, from decision to recovery. Their surgeons use the latest technology to get you back to activity quickly with less pain and fewer restrictions. Visit logan.org/ortho to learn more. Get back to what you love with Logan Health Orthopedics.
Back from the break here on the Flathead Valley Sports Haven. Cole Havens here chatting with Josie Windauer, head athletic trainer at Whitefish High School. So, Josie, let's go ahead and talk about that transition that you made into the trainer side of things.
Yes. So when I guess, tracking back a little bit, I was told when I was going into college that getting a athletic training degree while playing a college sport is almost impossible. And it's very, very, very hard to make those two schedules work together. And so I was also very interested in wildlife, and I still am. But wildlife biology is kind of what I wanted to go into. I wanted to possibly be like a fisheries biologist or something along those lines. And anyways, so pretty much right after I quit soccer, I had a lot of reasons why I gave it up, but pretty much immediately after I changed my degree, met with my advisor and changed my degree to athletic training. And so then I was on that path, and I finished that path in spring of 25, and so here I am.
That's awesome. So you've definitely been in pressure moments. You know how to prepare and everything. So talk to me about coming back to the Valley then, and what, obviously, why Whitefish? Let's start there. Why was Whitefish the right choice, even though you went to Columbia Falls High School and everything? And what's it been like being at Whitefish?
Yeah.
And then I'll ask you what a day in the life of a trainer is like.
Okay. I would say Whitefish is right, because when I chose Whitefish, not only because it was the only athletic training position open in the Flathead, but
that usually helps.
I think that it was open for a reason. And like, what are the odds I graduate from my graduate program and this job in Whitefish opens up? I'd say the odds are pretty slim for that happening. And I wanted to move back home. I wanted to be close to family, and I wanted to be somewhere, I've never ventured out very far. So it's
relatively
all
comfortable.
Just very familiar to me up here and the people. And anyway, so yeah, I applied for the job. I was unsure if I'd get it or not. So I was also prepared. I was talking to different physical therapy clinics and chiropractic clinics, and just trying to get my foot in the door in other work settings, because there weren't any other traditional athletic training jobs available. And I knew I wanted to live here. But it was like a day and a half-ish after I interviewed for the job, they called and I got it. And so it was a big relief going into graduation, already having a job lined up. And sorry, I forget what the second part of your question was.
I was going to say, actually, you kind of pretty much answered it. Let's just go into, what is it like being a trainer now? Take me through a day in the life as an athletic trainer at Whitefish, because I think that's a lot that people don't understand, is how much actually goes into it.
Yeah. I think that athletic training is a misunderstood profession. I think that it's a growing profession, and there's still a lot of people who don't really know what it is. So the amount of times I explain to people like what I am and what I do it's insane, which is okay. But so as an athletic trainer at a high school specifically, I am there whenever there are home events. So any home games, home camps, home tournaments, anything like that. And then I'm there for every single practice. Granted, sometimes, like for example, in the fall, I've got football practicing on campus. I've got soccer practicing at the Smith Fields, which is just
cross country doing their own thing.
Yep. So they're all over the place. And so I kind of have to pick like a home base somewhere where the kids know I am. And then I'm kind of on call. So
Gotcha.
If an emergency were to occur, I could always hop in my car and go find the cross country runners, or go to the soccer field, or anything like that. And then sometimes there are overlapping sporting events. So there were days in the fall where I had a soccer game going at the same time as a volleyball game, at the same time as a cross-country event in Kalispell or something. There was a lot of overlap. So I usually follow the higher risk sport, the sport that yields the most injury. And
so a football, a volleyball, probably a soccer.
Yep. So let's say football, soccer, and volleyball, they're all playing at the same time. I'll be with football.
Gotcha.
If volleyball and soccer are playing at the same time, I'll go with soccer. If there's a home event like a cross-country meet and there's that high volume of kids, I'll go there.
Gotcha.
I'll go there over a soccer game. So yeah, there were definitely times where I'd be at a soccer game and I'd get a phone call from coach at the football field, and he'd be like, you need to get here right now. I needed
you here 5 minutes ago.
Like, you've got to come see this. And so I'd hop in my car, go to the high school, and then take care of business there, and then come back to the game. So it's a pretty all over the place job. Right after school, if it's just like a practice day, like we just have practices. Wednesdays are a good example of that because we never have games. So I'll show up about an hour before school gets out. In the fall, I was showing up about an hour and a half before school got out, just because I was doing a lot of cleaning and documentation and computer work and stocking supplies and stuff like that. So I show up, kind of have my quiet office time, and then right when the bell rings, it's
go time.
It's go time. It's a rush and a tornado, and kids just fill up the room, and I try to triage in a way that I can get the kids out to practice as soon as possible, get them taped, give them rehab exercises, do what I need to do to get them all out there. And it's a lot, and sometimes it's overwhelming just because I want to give each kid my undivided attention for at least 20 or 30 minutes, which is very unrealistic for this job. So,
definitely a lot of emotional weight, I would imagine. You have to, build trust with athletes. You have to make some tough calls and everything. I got to imagine being an athlete, though, helps with a lot of that mental preparation. But at the same time, an athlete goes down. What goes through your head? I mean, I've seen it at a football game. You're the first one out there when someone goes down. So what is that moment like when that kid goes down, and regardless of if it's a sprain or a break, whatever it may be, what's that like for you?
Yeah. I mean, usually in my head, I'm like, oh, brother. But then I quickly snap out of it, and you kind of just... I grew up playing sports and like having that feeling of adrenaline where you kind of just not zone out because you're very... Almost
trust your training kind of takes over, would you say?
Yeah. The adrenaline definitely kicks in. I'm not worried about, all the fans are watching me walk out onto the field and I'm the only one responding. And I'm not thinking about those things when something bad or dangerous, or I guess when someone goes down on the field. I'm not thinking about those things anymore, and I beeline it to the kid.
It's the kid's that number one priority. That's probably all you're thinking, right?
Yep, kid's the priority, and I'm trying to zone out coaches, I'm trying to zone out referees, and then the noise of a crowd, if there is a crowd. But I get to the kid, I usually greet them, just say like, hey, like, if I don't know them, I usually say like, I'm Josie, I'm a athletic trainer, I'm here for you, like, what's going on? And of course, if they're conscious, I'm able to kind of have a conversation with them, and if it's not an emergency, then I usually just help the kid catch their breath, get everything kind of calmed down, and then that way we can decide like, hey, can we get you off the field? Then I can check you out off the field. If they can't walk or if they can't get off the field, then I kind of start like a little evaluation on the field, and then I usually have help from coaches, referees, parents if they run out, carrying the player off the field if need be. But yeah, it's definitely a job where it's nice to have other healthcare providers there as support. I mean, you don't always have that, and you have to be prepared to not have that. But at our football games in the fall, we have doctors that usually come to
There's
the
usually
games.
A paramedic or something.
Yep, and we haven't had any EMS on site. I guess this past fall we didn't have that one game, but I usually had doctors from like Logan Health or Glacier Medical, and they would stand by me, and it was nice to have someone else to talk the medical language with, and to ask questions to and bounce ideas across. And it was always just it was a cushion. They would let me do my thing and let me take care of the kids. But then if I needed them to help or intervene, then I'd wave them over to help me. And that was a very useful resource for me this past fall. And I hope that we keep those relationships from this point on.
Obviously, without throwing names out there, because I know we don't want to do that, and I don't ever report on an athlete getting injured, but what's the worst injury you've had to tend to? What's one that kind of sticks out in your head, whether it was because it was a negative experience or was a positive experience that you were able to do it right? But what's the worst injury you've seen that was like, when you think back to it, it's like,
I saw injuries throughout grad school. Not as many as I've seen this year. But in grad school, I saw a dislocated elbow.
Oh.
That was pretty gnarly. This year, we had a handful of injuries, and it started off fall camp started off pretty heavy with injuries. I had a kiddo, break his leg. I had a cervical spine scenario that didn't end up being a fracture or anything like that, but those are always very humbling experiences and very high, I wouldn't say stress, but very, what am I trying to say? Serious scenarios. So those are times where you have to take it very seriously, you have to communicate well, you have to kind of delegate roles to other people, and I'd say, and then some dislocations. Those are always interesting.
And then now that you've been here, you've done this, I kind of want to revisit that rivalry angle again, because now you're on the other side of it. Obviously, I know when someone goes down, the rivalry part, that doesn't even cross your mind when someone gets hurt. But to see the rivalry from the other side now, what's that been like for you?
Yeah, I have been, I wouldn't say surprised, that's the wrong word, but I've been very pleased with, the administration at Whitefish and the kids at Whitefish and the coaches. And I would say growing up playing Whitefish, we always saw them as like, and I don't want anyone to interpret this as me being disrespectful, but we always saw them as like the higher up town, like they have fancy this and fancy that, and we always just we called them the puffy coat town because they all have like the puffy coats, and here I am, I wear puffy coats all the time. But anyways, when I showed up at Whitefish this past fall, I was pretty terrified, just knowing that I was in charge of or responsible for however many athletes, and getting to know all of these new coaches and just learning all the coaches and admins' communication styles, and it was a big adjustment. But I very quickly found out that the kids are just amazing. They're all very smart. They're all very kind. They're all very respectful. And I enjoy watching them every day do their thing on the field or on the court. It's a very educationally excelling school as well, which I admire. So a lot of these kids are very studious and they work hard in their studies, and I also admire that. So it's not all about the sports, and a lot of the kids at Whitefish know that, and I think the families know that, and school definitely comes first at Whitefish. But yeah, it's every high school you go to. I had the pleasure of working at a few high schools in the Missoula area. Every high school I've worked at or been a student at in my training, there's good kids everywhere you go. And there's always going to be kids that need you everywhere you go. And so I really like being at Whitefish, and it's different than Columbia Falls. And but I like it. It's been a very positive, uplifting environment, and I think the community has been my favorite part of it so far. That
actually leads me right to my next question, as we kind of visited the dark side of kind of what goes through your head in the moment. What's the best part about your job? What do you look forward to the most about being a trainer?
My favorite part about my job is definitely creating, I guess, healthy relationships with the kids. I think that there's no better feeling than, okay, I'm sitting in my office and I'm doing notes, and I have kids come in just to give me a hug, or kids that come in, they're like, hey, do you want a cookie? I made cookies. Or some kids, I don't ask for anything, but some kids will bring me a coffee, and I'm like, geez, thanks, but you need to save your money for when you go to college. But kids definitely come in bearing gifts.
So the kids are the best part.
Yeah. And a lot of them just want to talk, and sometimes, most of the times, I don't have answers for them when it comes to like their personal lives, but I think just being that set of ears for them. And I also think being a young professional helps with that. I think I'm pretty approachable for this age group of kids, and they feel, from what I've observed, a lot of them feel pretty comfortable coming up and talking to me, and that makes me feel pretty good about my job and what I'm doing.
I love it. I think that's a perfect spot to end on. Thanks for coming in. Thank you for sharing your story. Again, going from Columbia Falls to Missoula, playing athletics, being an athletic trainer, and now back at the Valley. Any last thoughts before we get out of here?
Go Bulldogs.
I love
Hopefully
it.
no one from Columbia Falls is listening. But yeah, we're going into divisionals. So wishing all of the high school teams health and low injuries, but go Bulldogs.
I love it. Perfect, Josie. Thanks for coming on. Thanks for joining me, and thanks for sharing your story.
Thank you, Cole. Appreciate it.